Greetings, beautiful people. So, today's segment is going to be about explanatory style. I'm not sure if I said this before in one of my past segments, but I've been wanting to come and talk about this. And so, now, explanatory style is the way in which people perceive or explain the events that happen into their lives or the trauma that they have experienced. Now, I feel like everyone has trauma. Everyone has trauma, whether it is on a scale from 1 to 10, meaning whether someone would view it as small trauma or trauma that's really, really big. So everyone has trauma. There's no need to try to put someone else's trauma ahead of our own as if it doesn't exist because in somebody's life, the trauma is still haunting them to this day. But what explanatory style is the way that you explain these events and these traumatic experiences that you have had. So there are ways that you can explain it. You can be a pessimistic about it, or you can be optimistic about it. Now, pessimistic is kind of like feeling like the world owes you something, feeling like, being in that fear energy. When you're in fear energy, you can't manifest anything because your thoughts are surrounded and consumed in fear. When there's fear, there's no movement. So pessimists, they assume that the problem is stable and that it's unchangeable and that it will never end. They also believe that it's whatever they're going through is global and that it affects a broad spectrum of activities instead of an isolated incident. And so pessimists also internalize everything, which is, remember how I said in the last segment about our chakras, how we hold on to things and these energies that are not aligned with pretty much I say not aligned with our spirit because everything is based off of spirit, based off of spirituality. Everything has a foundation of where it stems from. So, and I feel like diseases come from when we hold things in, not getting rid of or not solving the trauma that we have held on to, holding on to sadness, holding on to breakups, holding on to woulda, shoulda, coulda, holding on to things like that. Optimism is when optimism is when you're kind of like explaining things from a more upbeat personality. It's kind of like a person with optimism. They inspire others. They are bold and adventurous. They have a keen sense of reality, and the way that they explain um, their trauma is not like, "Oh, woe is me," things will never change. Instead, there's an optimism look on out on life that well that happened one time, how can I go on forward, making it better and making sure that doesn't happen again? Or, I may have had a bad day, but today is a new day and I can always start over again. You see how encouraging that sounds, even a tone of voice. You can say things, but it's how you say it. People feel. Now, explanatory style, people with a pessimistic explanatory style have suppressed immune systems, and the ratio with helper T cells and suppressor T cells is low, and it was the number of lymphocytes which the body for waging war against infection or disease. So explanatory style can depress immunity, which it can lower your immune system when you're speaking negatively about traumatic events or just speaking negatively about yourself. Your body knows when you are speaking negatively about yourself. I mean, it knows. Um, your body is one like with your spirit and your soul. So it's going to speak to you in that way. You might have aches and pains in certain areas. That's because your body is speaking to you in that specific area. So there was one technique that was used in ABCDE mnemonic that was developed by Dr. Albert Ellis to help people overcome a tendency to be pessimistic or pessimistic. So there is adversity. Adversity is when Adversity is when it happens, it always will, and think about what caused it. So this is where you start to dig in deep and see why, if there are events that continue to happen and continue to show up in your life, you have to kind of find out where is the foundation, where did it come from, where did this originate from. Then there is belief. I'm just going to go through the A, B, C, D, E, then I go back and say the definitions. There's adversity, belief, consequences, dispute, and energize. So, like I said, adversity is it always happening and thinking about what caused it. Belief is determining how you explain the failure to yourself. The consequences is if you have a negative belief, a pessimistic explanatory style about what caused the event, you can realize that those negative beliefs will have consequences, and you might feel shame, get depressed, or feel overwhelmed. Then there's dispute. Dispute is your negative belief. It creates more accurate, objective beliefs to explain the adversity. Energize is energizing yourself through your new optimistic look. Now we understand that when you had hold on to like negative beliefs or just been around negativity for so long, it's kind of hard to get out of that realm of negativity, anger, sadness, trauma, trauma bonding. It's hard to get out of those spaces when you've been there for so long. But that's why I encourage solitude when you are starting your spiritual journey, so that when you are by yourself, you can learn how to detach from these thoughts that no longer serve you. Um, so that's what I wanted to kind of talk about explanatory style. How are you explaining yourself to other people about your trauma, about the events that happen to your life? Even when someone comes to you and explain, how their day been going, how you explain to people how your day has been going. And so that's something that I have been working on for a while, even on my podcast. I don't know if y'all know or not, but I don't go back and listen to any of my podcast episodes. I kind of just do it and I put it out there. And then sometimes I go back, later on to something that I said, and just to see how far I've came. This is about growth. This is me keeping up with my growth. And so I even noticed it on my podcast when I was kind of like in a pessimistic mind frame where in some of those episodes I deleted just because it's not what I want this podcast to be. I want this to be about healing and not about celebrity gossip. So I was in that realm for a little bit, and I don't want to be a part of that. I don't want to be a part of the celebrity gossip. We have enough of those channels already. So that's what I wanted to say. I hope that everyone is taking care of themselves, practicing your self love techniques, being there for you first. And until next time, gods and goddesses, peace.